everyone, it's Lavender Town. Happy Friday the 13th. Today I'm going to be making a video where I take the 5 most common phobias and I transform them into monster designs. And meanwhile I'll just be kind of talking about how to make things scary in drawings and just sort of enjoying some spooky drawing for this October. I was surprised to discover that the 5th most common phobia that people have is a fear of dogs. And I can understand this because dogs are the type of animal probably that are most likely to be in the modern person's life that could potentially bite them. I find dogs really cute, so this was kind of difficult for me, even like wolves and stuff. I was bitten in the face by a dog when I was a kid and it still didn't even deter me, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. But I tried to really think about what it would be that would scare people about dogs. Obviously, being afraid of being bitten, being afraid of a dog basically going feral and forgetting its like domestication and becoming a wild animal, I thought was pretty scary. But I knew I didn't want to just draw a dog because then this would be kind of a boring video. I'd just be literally drawing the fears. So I wanted to create some kind of monster that would really emphasize the things that people might be afraid of. So I'm puffing up the chest to make them look bigger. I'm creating these big long claws that obviously dogs don't have, and then of course putting them into this aggressive pose. I also made the teeth sort of burst out from the mouth very aggressively, and I created this like horrible sort of Lovecraftian section in the middle just to really sell the monster concept. Of course, I also gave him lots of extra eyes. With that, I was hoping that I had created a very frightening dog that even I could be afraid of. I was surprised that actually out of the top 5 fears, I only had one of them. I'm wondering if you guys can guess which one it is. I won't tell you. So yeah, guess which one you think I actually have. So the next one is, this is the 4th most common phobia in the world right now, according to a list I saw on infearof.net, and this is agoraphobia. This one was really hard to draw, and it's kind of like, it's almost more like a conceptual illustration of what agoraphobia is rather than a agoraphobia monster. I tried and scrapped many different monster ideas, and in the end I thought that this would be a bit more compelling. So basically, agoraphobia, for those of you who don't know, is a fear of crowds and open spaces, and it causes you, in severe cases, to be stuck inside your house. So I did like sort of this person who's chained inside, and then in their shadow you can see what they're afraid of, which is like crowds and, you know, other people and being surrounded. So that is the 4th most common phobia. For the 3rd most common phobia, this was another difficult one, but I forced myself to make a monster regardless because well, obviously I came in here wanting to design monsters. But the 3rd most common phobia is a fear of heights. That's also known as acrophobia, and it affects a ton of people, and it affects them in different ways. Sometimes that means you could be scared of flying in a plane, or even just going so far as standing on a ladder. For this monster design, I wanted to create a great sinewy, stretched out sort of character. I made some lengths to make sure it wasn't just Slenderman, because of course when you think about a stretched out human form, that would be the first thing you think about. I made these long towering black sort of legs, and I shaped them kind of like a deer's legs. I find that just warping the human form can be really creepy, and I gave it this long spidery sort of hand, and then just gave it a very sinister grin. So I guess the concept here is the threat of being really up high, because it was probably going to lift you. I don't know how well it worked, but I did actually quite enjoy the challenge of taking something like a fear of heights and trying to turn it into a physical monster. This might be something I want to come back to, actually. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to use sharp edges and just unnatural shapes. I've always been creeped out by long, spidery, sinewy sort of monster design, and it's something I gravitate towards when I'm creating monsters, though of course not always, but yeah, it really works for me. There's something really unsettling about something stretched out and emaciated. Some people are afraid of heights because of the simple reason that they worry about falling off, and that it makes them feel dizzy or gives them vertigo. But other people are afraid of heights because they feel something called the call to the void, which is a strange sort of phenomenon where people, just regular people, when they look over at like great distances beneath them, they feel the inexplicable impulse to just jump off. And these are people who they have no reason to want to hurt themselves. They're not like having any trouble with that. But when they look over a great crevasse or something like that, they feel this weird impulse to jump, and that's why some people are quite afraid of heights too. It's this fear of falling victim to that impulse before they can really think about it. So that's pretty creepy. Have you ever experienced that? Looking over a staircase or something, you kind of want to jump off and you don't know why? I've only experienced that once or twice, but it is quite an unsettling feeling. Anyway, I tried to create a really, really tall monster. That's basically what this is, and really enforce what is creepy about being so high up. I had another idea of like creating a monster out of what it looks like when you look down from up above, but I couldn't quite get that one to work. Again, it might be something I come back to later. So, the second most common phobia is a fear of snakes. Now, I know a lot of people are afraid of snakes because they believe they're poisonous. Other people are afraid of snakes just because of the way they move. They use parabolic movement to move around, which is very unnatural looking for creatures that are used to moving around on our limbs. They seem to just glide around and they move very hypnotically, and it's kind of alien and strange when you first see a snake. Also, of course, they bite, and at least where I'm from, there are a lot of, well, not a lot, but there are enough rattlesnakes that being afraid of them is pretty smart. I actually grabbed a snake when I was a little kid without really looking at it because I was really interested in snakes, and it whipped around and bit me, and it hung off my hand for a little bit, and then it dropped and slithered away, and the wound would just like not stop bleeding. This is another thing that's kind of scary about snakes. Some of them have a type of venom called an anticoagulant, which basically doesn't let your blood clot, and so you just bleed and bleed for a long time, and it was pretty scary, but not as scary as when I went back to my parents and they told me that this was like prime rattlesnake territory, and it was on a really hot day where there would probably be a lot of rattlesnakes out, and they started peppering me with questions about the shape of the head, and at first I was like, yeah, no, it was definitely like a garter snake or something, but then the more they asked me, the less sure I became, and I got really scared that I was bitten by a rattlesnake. But of course, I'm alive today and I didn't have to go to the hospital, so it must not have been a rattlesnake. Otherwise, I would be in bad shape. But anyway, that was a sort of personal experience I had that was kind of scary with snakes. It is funny that I wasn't scared until I started talking to my parents about it, and I started to realize that, I hadn't looked as closely as I thought I had, and that kind of thing. That sort of uncertainty is very frightening to me. But anyway, I tried to sort of create this female character she's becoming kind of a snake, and she's like surrounded in them. I tried not to go the Medusa angle, but she kind of looks like Medusa, even though I didn't really go for her hair. I was originally thinking of some kind of like Cleopatra, like snake zombie, like she got bitten by a snake and it gave her the power of snakes. I'm not really sure what happened with this one, but anyway, that is the second most common fear. Now, the most common phobia of all time. We've finally come to the strongest and most perilous fear that the most people share, and that is the fear of spiders, arachnophobia. Arachnophobia affects a ton of people for a lot of different reasons. Again, the movement is sort of disturbingly different from our own. The way that they skitter around, they have so many legs that it makes it even creepier than an insect most of the time. They're very fast, and they can bite and harm people. Most spiders cannot, of course. Most spiders would not bite you, or if they did, they wouldn't have any type of venom that could even affect you. But for the few that do, they can cause massive devastation to you, which is probably why evolutionarily there's a lot of people who are afraid of spiders. Just in my area where I live, there's the black widow, which of course is famously a pretty bad spider to get bitten by. There's also the brown recluse, which when it bites you, basically your skin just dies in that area, and it just keeps dying for like a pretty large span across your skin, so it's kind of horrifying. I do not recommend looking up pictures of what that looks like because it is really gross. But yeah, it kind of makes the whole fear of spiders make a lot of sense, because they are one of the things in our modern life that are still quite dangerous for us, especially because there's no real way to cure that kind of bite. We have anti-venoms and stuff, but there's actually been no evidence to support the fact that those even help in spider bite cases. So it's a very frightening concept in a time where so many animals are no longer a threat to us, but these tiny little things that can get into our vents can do significant damage to us that really no doctor can help with, other than basically waiting it out and trying to heal what has already been damaged. So I tried to make a sort of mix between a spider, the spider form, and like human death. It ended up looking a little bit like those super goofy Michael's Halloween decorations that basically are like a spider skeleton, which everyone has been making fun of because, of course, spiders have exoskeletons, so it doesn't make sense to give them a skeleton. But anyway, I just tried to make everything look sort of spidery and haunting, and then have this little sort of human death motif throughout. I also hate the idea of having your whole head covered by a spider. There are some spiders that actually can like latch onto you, which I think a spider latching onto your face would be quite an upsetting experience. I hope you guys enjoyed this scary Friday the 13th October video. Of course, I want to make more scary videos before October is over. Creepy Dress is definitely on the way, and if you have any other ideas that you'd like me to try out that are related to Halloween or fear or anything like that, please let me know. Also, let me know if you have any of these phobias, and make a guess of which one of these that I have. That's all for now. I'll see you guys next week. Big thank you to my patrons, including Blep, Code, Vilka, Miss Misu, BB Dave, Gaia Mascale, Cat O'Cat, Christy Stewart, Muffins McGee, Painamel, Lachlan MD, Calpompone, Sergeant Pendulum, Enzo Jobert, Yaboy ST, Adrian Delport, Joelle Turner, Laura Buter, Elizabeth Alvin, Riley James, Superpixel, Angela Taylor, Hallman Kearney, Violet Wilkes, Liblablabla, Kate Meekins, Addie Visual, and Liv Likes to Draw. Thank you so much for your support.